mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
Famous. Everybody wants to be famous. I want to live forever. I want to learn how to fly. Fame. A show business agent has been attacking the singular pursuit of celebrity as an easy escape from the mundane, a quick route to riches based on little skill and no effort. Success in show business used to be based on luck, timing and talent, in that order, she says. It's still about luck and timing, but now the talent part has been substituted by individuality. That's putting it nicely. What she really means is Victorian sideshow freakishness. Who has the biggest boobs, the most repellent personality, is the most stupid, drugged up and slut-like? Those last three sound like a supermodel to you? Anyone who can spew up their individuality has a shot, and the cameras are always on. But while the hard-won fame of old had longevity, she says, the new stars are looking at a lifetime of bitter disappointment after the limos don't arrive anymore. And they've nothing to fall back on, except their websites and their blogs. And they'll kill you. Recently, 2 prolific bloggers in America died due to the stress of updating their internet diaries. It's an addiction like drugs. People forget to eat, lose weight, don't go out and get ill because they feel trapped into constantly adding to the online logbooks of their lives. And it leads to loneliness and despair and dinners, always pizza. Much better to get addicted to actual drugs. Then you get presents. In Newcastle, they're giving out Premier League football tickets as an incentive to addicts to take fewer drugs. What better atmosphere to help straighten people out than the drunken aggression of a football crowd? Not just drug addicts are getting them, but alcoholics and prolific offending criminals, too. Rob a house, smoke some blow, win a major prize. That'll teach 'em. The whole world's gone crazy. You know, I was talking yesterday about crime figures and about statistics, and the recent crime figures suggest that, well, there isn't any crime anymore. They've completely solved it all, and any crime has recently happened to you, it was just an illusion. Please try and sleep it off. And I said, well, you know, statistics, you can pretty much do anything you like with those. Comes to find out, I was right. Parts of the Met are deliberately preventing Londoners from reporting crime to keep the figures down, an official report has found. You believe that? Yes, we can believe that, sadly. Published crime statistics are inaccurate and sometimes dishonest, and the police have been pressured to massage the numbers for political reasons, this report claims. It comes a day after Scotland Yard released statistics showing a 6% fall in crime in a year and an 8% fall in violent crime. Now, I don't know. How do you feel about that? You think that crime's gone down? No, not really. You can't... and you're all just sagely shaking your head in there. No, you don't.
I don't think crime's gone down at all, Nick.
No, but we don't have anything to base that on, other than what we read in the papers and what we hear from, our chums.
But saying that, you could go on the voice of people who've witnessed crime, and I've not witnessed crime in a long time.
I have.
What crime did you witness?
Some greaseball hoodie nicked my sat-nav from outside this building, but I don't like to talk about it.
Yeah, but you didn't witness it, you were a victim.
No, I've got it on video.
You watch it at home?
Yeah, over and over again, yeah.
Trying to track him down.
That's right.
Nick Abbott, vigilante.
Yeah. Oi, mate, I don't know where you live. The report says that although the Met's central policies are to count crime honestly, borough commanders and senior management team are constantly dealing with the tension between recording crimes accurately and the ongoing pressure from central government to meet crime reduction targets. Oh, blimey, yet again, it's another government target, which is having exactly the opposite effect to that which was stated. I was going to say intended. But it's happened so many times, you almost believe that it's not just because of incompetence, they're actually planning it that way. As a result, some parts of the force have adopted local policies to create obstacles stopping victims from reporting certain types of crime. For example, some police stations refuse to allow victims of mobile phone theft to report the crime unless they can quote the phone's IMEI serial number. What's that? Do you have any idea what that is?
Yeah, it's if you dial *#06#, it's like a unique code that comes up on your mobile phone screen.
How on earth do you know that?
I don't know.
A lifetime of nicking other people's phones.
Yeah,
I'm going to write that down.
*06#. Let me just check that on my phone.
What does IMEI stand for? I'm going to write that down. Not that I'd be mortified if somebody nicked my mobile phone, because I think it's given me a brain tumour the size of a football. So *#06#.
Hash.
Right.
And it's a serial number, which is also inside your phone, just past where the battery is as well.
OK, well now nobody listening to this has got an excuse. It's a 15-digit number which will only be found by typing a special code into the handset, it says, and you've just heard it. What was that code again? It was *#06#. Mobile phone theft accounts for 28% of all thefts. So, by asking people to come up with this IMEI number, whatever that stands for, you're almost guaranteeing that you can wipe 28% of all thefts off your books right away. Because who's got that written down? I mean, you knew how to do that, and you still don't have it written down, right?
No, I don't.
See? The report says officers and staff in the Met's crime management units who are responsible for recording crime have confided that they've been pressured into making decisions that they felt were dishonest. It found specific incidents where pressure was applied that affected the accuracy of the crime recording process. Does anybody have confidence in the accuracy of the crime recording process?
No.
Even before you heard me say this?
No.
Government crackdowns on crimes that cause most public concern, such as robbery, are blamed. The focus on priority crime can create a perverse incentive to record crime inaccurately. For example, robbery and pickpocketing can be recorded as theft. Some Scotland Yard policymakers viewed this misrecording as deliberate and intentional. Crime recording seems to have focused more on meeting Home Office counting rules than the needs of policing, says the report. Can you think of a single government target that has actually had the effect that it was stated to want to achieve? There aren't any. It's because the people who are trying to achieve these targets are people. They're like you and me. And when given the job of meeting a target, we'll just find the easiest way to do it. We won't put in 18-hour days and break our backs trying to achieve it in the best possible way. We'll just find the quickest, easiest way to do it. The easiest way to do it? I mean, you can knock almost 30% off the theft statistics by just asking people what the serial number of their mobile phone is. No one knows that. Last year, ministers announced a crackdown on robbery defined as stealing using violence or the threat of violence. Theft, a less serious crime, is stealing, but that doesn't involve violence. The official figures show that the robberies in London have plummeted more than 20% last year, while thefts have fallen by much less. The suggestion is that they're just calling robberies thefts. So the robberies go down, but the thefts don't. But it's actually exactly the same amount of crime. They're just calling it something else, thereby meeting their targets. The report says that the detection targets can lead to police concentrating on quick wins, for example, cannabis warnings, or criminalising behaviour such as urinating on the street. Who urinates on the street? Apart from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. People bleeping on the street like they just don't care. Everybody sing. It says the Met itself has warned of target culture. It may lead to the police service unnecessarily criminalising individuals and behaviours to achieve performance targets. This may impact on neighbourhood policing, as individuals might be less willing to engage with and support the police, because they're just picking on people for doing, well, like throwing an apple core out the window. Like this woman the other day, a bill that's like £2,800, something like that. She threw an apple core out the window. I wouldn't encourage that. Don't ever drop litter. But the current system requires officers to spend more time administrating than investigating. Data is stored on a variety of often obsolete and incompatible computer systems and often has to be entered several times on different systems, increasing the likelihood of mistakes. The Metropolitan Police said, "Oh, no, it's not." Something like that. So there you are. Statistics, don't believe them. Lies, damn lies, and. 7:45. LBC Travel with Amanda Redmond.
Thanks, Nick. Hello.
So, talking of crime, by the way, there was a student who told how she gained a criminal record because she didn't have 90p on her Oyster card. Ashley Williams, 20, boarded a Bendy bus without realising her prepaid card didn't have enough money on it. Before she could get off, The doors closed, and she was carried to the next stop, where inspectors boarded. Despite the driver appealing on her behalf, the inspector refused to believe her explanation. Stratford magistrates fined her 120 quid after finding her guilty of not having a valid ticket on the number 38 bus from Hackney to Stoke Newington last September. £120 just because she couldn't get off the bus in time, and she didn't have 90p on her Oyster card. This is what I was talking about yesterday. It was just this hysterical overreaction to the slightest breaking of the rules. £120. And that figure struck me because it's exactly the same amount that a chap was fined last week, I think. Maybe you remember it. It's the guy who reversed the wrong way. This is a guy who'd had multiple convictions for driving offences. He reversed the wrong way up a one-way street, knocked over a kid, ran over him, then drove forwards, running over him again and killing him, then drove away and tried to get a mate of his to say that he'd been driving so he could get off. He was fined £120, and that's it. So you can kill someone and get fined £120, and you can also get fined £120 for not having 90p on your Oyster card. Yeah, that's right. The law isn't an ass. No problem there. Please move along. The other one, to continue a theme about crime, David Cameron versus the kid with the sneeze. The last time David Cameron was targeted by a teenager, the boy brandished an imaginary gun behind his back. This time the attack was equally childish, but a little more messy. Mr. Cameron was out on the hustings yesterday. The youngster sneezed into his hand, then wiped it down the back of the Tory leader's jacket. A nearby police community support officer collared Kingsley, 15, and issued him with a caution for antisocial behaviour. Right, well, he should have actually just paid for to get his suit cleaned, right? I mean, no punishment actually fits the crime anymore. None of it actually makes any sense. It's as though we've just lost our minds. Am I right?
Yes, yes, Nick, you are right.
Well, logically, he should just pay for the suit to be cleaned, yes? But no, he gets an antisocial, a caution for antisocial behaviour. Right, like...
Doesn't that, in effect, mean the next time, if he breaks that order of antisocial behaviour, the punishment would be more severe?
Well, he'll get a stiff caution for antisocial behaviour. I just explained, you can kill someone and get fined 120 quid. Afterwards, this bloke, an aspiring musician, said, "I sneezed into my hand and wiped it on him. It was just a joke I was showing off." They asked me to apologise to David Cameron, but in the end his security team wouldn't let me near him again. And that's the part that struck me the most. His security team? He has no security team. I mean, the kid could have been holding a bomb or a knife or a gun or... it could have been anything. And they just let him just waltz right up. Now, if David Cameron hasn't... and this is the second time it's happened. Last time it was a guy pretending to have a gun. There's no security. There isn't any at all. If that had happened in America, this kid would be dead by now. And would anybody miss him? Not really, no. He says he's been expelled from 2 schools, lives with his mother, who's unemployed, and his father, 48, retired. His father was a disc jockey. Hey! Last night he said, "I felt really bad about what happened because it looked like an expensive suit. I would have been really annoyed if someone did it to me." He's talking as though somebody else did it. He said, "I felt really bad that it happened," as though he had no control over his own actions. He should have been, at the very least, tasered to the ground and beaten unconscious. Am I right?
Maybe Cameron should have sneezed and then wiped it on him.
On him, yeah. Unfortunately, he was wearing what looks like a £1 shirt, as opposed to the £3,000 suit that Cameron was probably wearing. This kid said that he was underprivileged compared to the Tory leader. Oh, well, that explains it then. He said, "I wouldn't say he is a toff, but he's been very lucky in terms of his opportunities, because he's been born into money and I haven't. Oh, boo-hoo." He said his musical and fashion inspiration is, guess who? That's right, Pete Doherty. In February last year, Ryan Florence, 17, brandished an imaginary gun at Mr Cameron during the politician's visit to Manchester. Florence, clad in a black hoodie, pretended to shoot the politician and later boasted about guns, drugs and his criminal record. He was sentenced to 18 months youth custody for 3 burglaries. What an idiot. It says Plusto, but I imagine it's Plasto. Martin.
Yes, hello there.
Yes, Martin.
Just want to let you know what IMEI stands for.
Yeah, okay. This thing on the mobile phones that you're supposed to know.
I work in the phone business.
Right, okay then.
Right, it's International Mobile Phone Equipment Identity.
International Mobile Phone
Equipment Identity.
Right, well, there's a P lost somewhere there.
No, it says they didn't include... Well, it is. When the IMEI, it's IMEI. What it is, the mobile phone bit is just one word.
Right, it's with a hyphen.
So it's International Mobile Phone Equipment Identity.
Right. How's the mobile phone business doing? Because the Apple thing has just been cut in price, hasn't it? That didn't do particularly well.
Well,
not as well as they thought it would.
Well, I'm actually more... I actually work more with Nokia than anything else.
Right.
But... Yeah, well, I do the service centre side of it. I don't actually do the sales side of it, I just do the service centre side of it.
Oh, people ringing up and complaining all the time.
Well, I fix them, service them, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I used to do the sales, but, sales are not that good anymore.
Right, well, see, that was my question. Is Nokia the one that's having particular problems, or is that Motorola? I can't remember which is which.
Motorola.
Right.
Nokia's the one at the moment that's actually number one.
Right.
So I thought I'd just ring up and let you know what it stands for.
Okay, good man. Thanks very much, Martin.
Okay, thank you.
The International Monetary Advice Centre. Something, I don't know. Anyway, you must write it down. And to get it, you go to your phone and you dial 0845... What's it, Rog?
Star hash.
Yeah.
06 hash.
Star hash 06 hash. Yeah, and then write it down, because when it gets... Not if, when it gets stolen, you'll be able to fox the police, because they prefer that you didn't know it, because it will make it seem as though it never happened.
It's also likely to be on the box with which you bought your phone in.
Right. What, the one that you throw away immediately? Or
exactly
that you put in the cupboard with about 50 other boxes for things that you've collected over the years, some of which you don't even have anymore, but you've still got the box. Yeah. There was something about medieval hoodies. This is not a problem that we have just acquired. It's been going on for a very long time. They're the symbol of today's disaffected youth, but a historian has revealed that hoodie-wearing yobs is not a modern problem. Professor Robert Bartlett, who's an expert on the Middle Ages, said hooded tops were also the garment of choice for 12th century juvenile delinquents. The teenage apprentice boys of London were lawless, violent, and the scourge of the capital. They were away from home for 7 years, with no parental control, and they would riot regularly for political and religious reasons. Religious reasons? Hooded tops were worn by most citizens during medieval winters, he said, and they also served to hide the identity of young miscreants. He said that the life of the period resonated with today in other ways. The English, who are now among the worst binge drinkers in the world, were also renowned as drunks in the Middle Ages. Hey, it's not just recently that we're number one. We've been number one for a good long while. A surviving 12th century Latin manuscript refers disapprovingly to Potatrix Anglia, England the Drunken. He's presenting a series on BBC 4 called Inside the Medieval Mind. He will reveal the opening of the North-South divide with the first recorded case of a southerner complaining... In 1120, it's the first recorded case of a southerner complaining that he is unable to understand the speech of a northerner. Still today, we're having problems. But it's not going to be a problem with footballers for very much longer. It's a demand that might tax many of our homegrown footballers, but from now on, foreign players will have to speak proper English. Leanne Byrne, a Home Office minister, set out the new rules while giving evidence to a House of Lords immigration inquiry. He says, if you take sports people, should we be insisting that absolutely all footballers, or indeed England managers, should be able to pass an English test before they come in? At the moment, I'm afraid our proposal is that they should. Has anybody heard our current England manager speaking English yet?
I don't think he has done just yet.
But he says that he speaks it to his players.
It's because his English is okay to speak to them, maybe in broken English, but he doesn't want to go in front of a press conference.
Why? Because he's frightened that they might take his words and twist them, mangle them up, and report them out of context, making him look like a fool. They would never do that, surely. New rules which apply to only non-EU players are likely to affect all the big clubs. The tests would prove a challenge for many players signed to British clubs, such as the Brazilian striker Alfonso Alves. And Wayne Rooney, too. This is LBC. LBC.
Hello, boys.
Don't wait for me to tell you what to call about. I don't really do that. If you've got anything on your mind at all, then just feel free. It's 0845 6060 973. I'll talk about anything, me. That song, that was terrible. That's become an internet hit, and they're going to release it as a single. I mean, what's his name that invented the internet? Some good, much bad. What's his name again? Tim Berners-Lee. That's the fella. Dagenham. Hello, Trevor.
Hello there. I just want to let you know that you've been giving out the star #006 hash.
Yeah.
And the system's now crashed.
Which system?
The T-Mobile, the NIE number that you are requesting people to find the number of.
Yeah.
I just phoned up T-Mobile because I couldn't get mine, and they said the system's crashed.
I thought it was in your phone.
No, you text it, and then they send it to you. It's not in the phone.
Is that right, Raj? No, I don't think you got that right, mate.
Yeah, I just phoned them, and they said the system's now crashed because there's too many people texting that phone number through.
Right. I don't think you text it. You just punch it into your phone, and it retrieves the information from its own innards.
No, it doesn't work like that.
I think that's exactly how it works. Never mind. Better luck next time. 0845 6060 973. Here's Kenley. Hello, Tony.
Hello, mate. All right.
Yes, good, thanks.
You mentioned hoodies.
Yeah.
And when people talk about hoodies, it seems to me hoodies equals thugs or hooligans or whatever.
Right.
However, this little story involves, and they're English, but I think that, and I'm going to generalise now, older people are less enlightened about the colour of people's skin. So anyway, I was in a hospital, walking towards this double door, and these two young black kids held the door open for this woman who had sort of a Zimmer frame.
Yeah.
And she just walked through, didn't say thank you, and one of these kids said, you can say thank you next time. So...
hang on a minute, they said what?
They said, as she walked through, she didn't say thank you,
yeah.
And one of them just said, because he was obviously annoyed, you can say thank you next time.
Right.
So hoodies does not equal, in all cases, hooligans or whatever. Everyone seems to come up with it. If they wear a hoodie, I think it's just a fashion trend, like winkle fitters in the 50s and mods and rockers in the 60s and whatever.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, that's just an example of the society is just much ruder than it used to be. I mean, in cars, it's the same. If you let somebody in, or on a narrow road, if you pull into an empty space so that they can go by, and then they just ignore you.
Yeah, I know, it is.
that makes you want to turn the car around and pursue them home and kill them, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely right.
It just drives you berserk. And the same thing has happened to me when, you hold a door open and people treat you like the doorman. They just waft right through.
Yeah. I mean, I've said the self-same thing in shops, could I have a bottle of wine, whatever it may be, please? They take the money and give you your change and that's it. And I've actually said it myself, you can say thank you next time, I won't be coming back.
Right.
Thank you very much. So there is no excuse for bad manners, whatever colour, whatever age.
Yeah. No, but wearing a top with a hood in it doesn't...
Pardon?
Wearing a hoodie doesn't mean that you are a nasty piece of work.
I know, but whenever people talk about hoodies, it's always...
Yeah, it's just shorthand, though, Tony.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought I would try on behalf of our teenagers, put the record right.
All right, thanks.
Even
Thanks.
at my last stage.
All right, cheers, mate.
Cheers, bye.
0845 6060 973. I have hoodies, and I'm not a hoodie.
You wear hoodies?
Yeah. I mean, I don't wear hoodies up on a warm day and hang around street corners.
You're not on the number 32 terrorising people.
No. I've just, I just happened. It was 50% off, so I had to buy it. I don't care what it is. If it's 50% off, I'm having it. Got no end of things that are 50% off. I've only ever put on in the shop. The thing with hoodies is, though, that when you sit down in a high-back chair, you've got all this material around the back of your head. I find it irritating.
The same I find is when I've got a hoodie on and I have a jacket which has a hood on.
Yeah. Then you've got two hoods. You're two hoodies. You're one louder. Yeah. Well, that's just silly. Don't you have a mirror at your place?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe that's why they're irritated, because when they sit down, they've got all this extra material behind them, and it makes them want to kill someone.
Because they have to sit forward, so it must wreak havoc with their back.
With their back, that's right. Yeah. No wonder they're furious. No, it's just shorthand. It's not got anything to do with the actual item. Well, I suppose it does have something to do with the item of clothing itself, but it's the behaviour. It's just shorthand for the behaviour. Like, mods, rockers, mods. Well, that was just people in nice suits, wasn't it? I mean, they were a bit shiny. If you saw a mod today, like a granny, so, what smart boys, you'd say.
Both of us in the control room have just wondered, what is a mod?
What?
We're not of the age to know what a mod is, I'm afraid.
Well, that's a stupid thing to say. Have you heard of Mozart?
Yes.
What, were you born when he was around?
No. But that's different.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is different.
How can you not know what a mod is?
Because that's terminology from an era previous to us. Mozart is a name.
Well, do you know what a rocker is?
Yes, because that's quite an obvious one.
Right,
What's a mod?
Do you know what a greaser is?
No.
Or a grebo. We used to call them grebo. You had to, at school you had to choose between being a rocker or being a grebo and a skinhead. That wasn't a public school. That was a comprehensive. That we had to make the choice there. Oh, the up all night worrying about that one. I was. Now, shall I be a grebo or a skinhead? I chose a grebo because being a skinhead meant you had to lose all your hair, and with my luscious locks. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Raj. It would have been a great mistake. What's a mod? Well, I'll put it out. They can tell you. We'll get an actual mod on the phone to educate you. It's like an education, this show, ain't it?
No.
0845 6060 973. Educate these, because Raj you're what, like 12, 13, something like that?
I'm going to be 11 next week.
Yeah, there you go. So this, have this as your birthday present. What's a mod? 0845 6060 973. And correspondingly, what's a greaser? Not one single mod is listening to this show. Look at that board. Deserted. I think I'll wait. No, I won't. Fame. This is how I started. This is this woman who's on GMTV. She's the agent, the evil agent. She's playing the Simon Cowell role. Every show these days has got to have a Simon Cowell role. She says, this week I've had fun sitting on the GMTV sofa in my capacity as judge in their search for a TV presenter. That's just ridiculous. Like, all they have to do is pick up the phone to an agent. They'll get 50 people around who want to be a TV presenter. So it's got nothing to do with finding a TV presenter, and has everything to do with humiliating the people who want to be one. It's another one of those. Like we need another one of those shows. And there's so many of these shows is because there's no script involved, no thought required. Just get a lot of delusional freaks on, and then we can point and laugh at them. Without having to go through all that tedious writing of scripts and, selecting actors and all of that. This week, she says, I've had fun sitting on the GMTV sofa in my capacity as a judge in their search for a TV presenter, alongside presenters Melanie Sykes and Richard Arnold. Who are they? I don't know who anybody is anymore. I have turned into my dad. I've got no idea who anybody is anymore. Melanie Sykes, that sort of rings a vague bell. Who's that? This is a competition, she says, offering a lucky winner the chance to present a slot on the breakfast programme, as well as a trip to Las Vegas for a starry makeover. Good grief. I think it's a good job I don't watch that in the morning. I think I'll probably break something. Watching BBC Breakfast News is bad enough. Maybe we will find someone with that special something who will go on to have a fabulous career, she says, but the truth is that most of them aren't looking for a career. Put quite simply, they're looking for fame. Entrants have been invited to submit a 15-second clip of themselves taken on their mobile phone. Not an easy task, trying to convince 3 judges you have star quality in a quarter of a minute. So you would think an element of skill and thought was needed. And therein lies the rub. We live in an age where, should the lure of fame beckon, no one considers skill to be a prerequisite. Almost 5,000 hopefuls have submitted their clips to Sofa Factor, most without a hope in hell of getting any further than the GMTV website, but it hasn't stopped them applying. Everyone feels they have the right to fame because they know that talent is no longer required. The cult of Big Brother has made it possible for the most stupid to make millions simply on the back of being stupid. We live in a country where children no longer aspire to be doctors, nurses, lawyers or teachers. They want to be famous. To them, celebrity is an easy escape from the mundane. I used to advise hopeful TV presenters that they needed luck, timing and talent in that order. Luck and timing to get their first opportunity, but afterwards their talent would be what kept them there. If I sensed all they wanted was to be famous, I'd send them packing, she said, because she's an agent, right? Today, I'd be more inclined to substitute talent for individuality. Talent is an unnecessary bonus, because now the TV companies need, more than ever, is publicity. And skill doesn't guarantee column inches. Let's face it, Britain's Got Talent isn't just for the talented. It's a big platform for the untalented who are served up to be ridiculed for the sake of our amusement. What's that TV show like? Have they really got dopes on there, that like the X Factor freak show? Is it basically the same thing? I haven't watched it because, you know, how much of that tripe can you stand?
I think it's basically the same, except they can do anything other than sing as well.
Right, so it's just another cattle. It's like a televised cattle call. Celebrity is all, she says. Fame is held up as a god to be venerated. Never mind the emptiness. Ignore the public scrutiny that might tear your life apart. Better to be famous for nothing than to be nothing. The joy of anonymity has been lost to this next generation. There's a lot to say. I don't want to be on television, ever, because you walk down the street and people stare at you for one or two reasons. They want to kill you, or they want to have sex with you. If you're famous, then you throw in this third thing and you don't know what it is, because you can pretty much tell whether someone wants to have sex with you or kill you, if they're staring at you. But if they're staring at you because you're famous, they might be also staring at you because they want to kill you just because you're famous, or have sex with you just because you're famous. It just complicates the whole thing. I can't think of anything worse than being recognised in public without the money to insulate yourself from the general public. And most famous people don't have that. I mean, even people who are on the TV almost on a daily basis. Coronation Street stars, for instance. I mean, they're only, I say only, but they're only on about £100,000 a year. And that's not enough money to insulate yourself from the general public. David Beckham, he has enough money. He can build a wall around himself, literally and metaphorically. But not most people who are on television. They just haven't got that kind of cash. So to be out there on public transport while everybody's staring at you, can you think of anything worse? There's only one thing worse than being stared at. 8:16. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thank you very much. Hello.
We have a 19-inch Proline LCD DVD TV. That's a lot of letters to give away in our... Well, not give away, but up for auction in our reverse auction competition, in which the person with the lowest unique bid wins. It's a 19-inch LCD TV. It's HD ready. It's got a built-in DVD player. You can nail it to the wall or leave it on its stand. It's also got built-in Freeview, giving you access to all those extra channels. Perfect for the bedroom, or you could stick it up your kitchen. To bid, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was £1.56, for instance, you'd text LBC 156 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines close 7 p.m, Friday, 18th of April. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. Here is Weybridge. Hello, Sean.
Hello, mate.
Sean.
Nick, I can't believe who you've got there.
Shocking.
Does the mother know they're out, the people flying there? Are they being serious?
Apparently, yes.
I can't believe it.
To have that little knowledge of...
Yeah, but they gave themselves away by saying it was something in the past.
Yeah.
So, I just don't believe it. They don't know.
Well, they're both look convincingly ignorant to me.
Yeah. Well, shall I explain to them?
Yeah, were you a mod?
Was I was both, actually. I was Hersham, as in Hersham boy, so I had to do that.
Right.
And then I sort of changed from that to rude boy, I suppose you'd call it in them days, wouldn't you?
Right, so you crossed the divide.
Yeah.
Is that allowed?
Well, I did it.
Right.
We used to call it skunk, actually.
Call what skunk?
Half skinhead, half punk.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Well, how old are you, Nick?
47.
Yeah, well, I'm 44, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't believe it, I really don't. They've never heard of quadrophenia or the Who.
Well, I'll ask them. Have you heard of quadrophenia?
I have, yeah. Wasn't it a film or something?
Oh,
have they heard of
Wasn't it a film or something?
There was a film called Quadrophenia.
Shocking. Go on, Sean. Educate him.
Well, apart from... They were around in the 60s, yeah? So they get late 60s.
Yeah.
When they see that black and white footage, it isn't that long ago. And those people with Parkers on, they're the mods.
Yeah. We actually had television in the 60s, by the way.
Yeah. And then there was a revival.
When?
In the early 80s. With the Jam.
Oh, the Jam and all that stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was... But I just can't believe it. I think they're just winding you up.
Well, so...
I had a 3-piece tonic, 2-piece tonic.
Now, tonic. Now, there's a material that hasn't made a comeback, right?
Yeah.
I can remember wearing...
Around in that, would you?
Yeah, I can remember wearing tonic trousers. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Green from one angle and red from another. And as you walk down the street, it's like a kaleidoscope of colours coming at you.
Did you ever go to Jack Brendan's in Kingston?
Oh, I was in Edinburgh at the time.
Oh, that's a long way to come down.
It is a bit of a long way to just go to the shops. I've got a Crombie now, if that counts.
Yeah. So what music did you like, Nick?
Well, in that era, in the sort of late 70s era, I was an avid collector of punk.
Yeah.
I've still got all of the 7-inch singles, which are, I haven't played them in about 20 years, because I haven't got a record player that works anymore.
Are you one of those ones that said it was all finished by, like, 78, and nothing else after that was any good?
I think I stopped collecting singles after about 78, yeah. It all seemed a bit... Well, it just got a bit... Once Selfridges put pre-ripped T-shirts for your convenience in the window, it was over.
Yeah. Well, once people were buying the clothes, it was pretty much over, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, well, I come from Hersham, so obviously I had Hersham boys, not, I had the Sex Pistols driving around my town. Talking with Steve Jones.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have stayed on the footpath. When they were driving
the Angelic Upstart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
All of that stuff.
Anyway, yeah.
So how did a mod present himself then?
Well, when he was dressed up, he had the suit, tonic suit. He had the Fred Perry. He might have had braces, a pair of loafers, nice haircut. And I can't believe I haven't seen that.
Right.
Because it reproduces itself all the time. People dress like that now.
Well, yes, they do.
Fred Perry.
Yeah, and there's a certain element of that in that Pete Doherty's thing with the pork pie hat and all that stuff.
I mean, who was that boy from Big Brother, Ordinary Boys? Look.
Exactly right, yeah.
Look at him, and that's the mod, isn't it?
Yeah, sharp, tight suits, thin lapels, thin ties. Looking sharp, that's right, yeah.
And there was the other lot who wore the Parkers who were a bit scooter boyish.
Right. With the big...
yeah. And
the scooters with 17 mirrors on them, yeah.
And then stopping the car, and they came right at the backside.
Right, yeah. All right, thanks very much, Sean.
Oh, no, before you go, Nick, you've got to listen to this. What's this? Oh.
You having an accident? Well, it sounds like the Pistols to me. Sounds like, it sounds like an illegal recording of the Sex Pistols.
Did you groove that?
Yeah, I want it in stereo next time. Thanks very much, mate. 0845 6060 973. Are you a little bit more clued up now? Have you got them in your mind?
Yeah, I think I've seen pictures of them. Just, milling about. But
Right.
if Pete Doherty's thing, I don't really want to be part of it.
Well, no, it's the hat thing. I think the last time anybody wore a hat convincingly was in the, I suppose the revival with the Jam and the specials and all of that sort of, the scar thing, all part of it. The pork pie hat. Everything was sort of tight about it. The hat was tight with a tiny little brim, making it useless. Why do people wear a hat? To keep the sun off them, right? Or to keep their head warm. But you don't wear a hat indoors to keep your head warm. So it's the same with a hoodie. What, is your head cold? Here is Romford. Hello, Dave.
Hi, you alright?
Yes, thanks.
Good. Talking about the old Britain's Got Talent thing, Piers Morgan was on GMTV this morning,
Yeah.
and he was quite rightly, what he was saying was, he said, they're not really put on there to ridicule, he said, because it's up to them, it's their choice to go on there to do it themselves anyway.
Well, yeah, I suppose so, but most of them seem to be, what's the word? Crazy.
A bit like some of our callers.
Yes, I suppose so, yeah.
So we could have Radio's Got Talent. We could have a little phone in and someone can give like a 10-second brief thing and you can think they're either idiots or not.
No, I used to do something like that. I called it Titbit of Talent, and believe me, it's not something I want to drag out again.
Oh, come on.
Well, no.
And just one quick question.
Go on, then.
When you had a Parker, did yours have like the tail fins at the back with the little laces, or was it a straight one?
Well, I've still got a Parker, and it does have the tail fins at the back, yes.
Hey, a true one.
There you go. Thanks very much, Dave. 0845 6060 973. The end of this article. This is a woman on the inside who knows. She's a celebrity agent. She says, the last thing that I read, that she says that the joy of anonymity has been lost to this generation. And once you lose it, you will miss it, like your knees. Take care of them, because once they're gone, you'll miss them. Because imagine how bad it is being famous and not having very much money, but still being on telly. But imagine how bad it is to be famous for the rest of your life for having done something that you no longer have access to anymore, and you'll always be that person who was. Think Jodie Marsh, think Paul Burrell. What does it say about us as a nation, she says, that we want untold riches for no effort? If we can't win the lottery, then we'll try to win the X Factor. Never mind that we can't sing. We've become a nation that that aspires to the ghastly and the ridiculous, because they are rewarded with a TV show, no matter how dreadful. We've got hundreds of channels with millions of hours to fill, and television will feed us what we want over what we need, because ratings are the channel's equivalent of celebrity. That's not to say that there aren't fabulous shows that seek to applaud real talent. The X Factor has given us genuinely gifted people like Leona Lewis. She's going to be, so they're saying, the #1 album in America, right? She's got a #1 single. And I read an interesting article about that, which said that basically the way they organise or calculate charts in America now is based much on a radio play. And the giant organisation that is behind the X Factor is also massive in America. They're the same people that are that have got David Beckham in America, right? It's the same talent agency. So their power and sway, which is enormous because they've got the biggest rated show on American television. I mean, there isn't a bigger organisation in the business than them in America right now. So their ability to go to radio stations and say, do you want some of our magic dust? Just play this. Must be huge. So that's how Leona Lewis has got to #1 in America, is because radio stations have been persuaded to play her record because she's been on telly, not because people are going out and buying it in any great number. So once again, it's the triumph of PR. I'll get to more of this later, but time is running out. This is LBC 97.3.
London's biggest conversation. 1960.
LBC 97.3, coming towards the news now. The time, 8:30.
Dear, you can talk to me.
I'm listening, Mike. You can talk to me.
Hello there.
Yes, Mike.
Good evening, sir. I was listening to what you were saying earlier on about youth and I suppose in a wider sense, sort of feckless individuals,
Right.
and then widening that out to wannabe celebrities, and what you were saying about what is tried to be classed as entertainment on television these days.
Yeah.
And kind of, my thoughts were running along with similar lines. I couldn't agree more with what you were saying. And I think we've got a kind of, what I could describe as a Jeremy Kyle generation here. Professional people who do nothing but sit on the backside watching Sky TV all day.
Yeah.
And that keeps them going.
I'd love to be able to sit on my backside and watch Sky TV all day.
Absolutely. You know, I think there's a I don't know when it happened. I don't know how it happened, but I think we've got a situation in this country now where it's either respect or responsibility is on the slide, and I don't know when the skids started to go underneath it, but they're there. And as much as I have a few concerns about the way immigration is being handled at the moment by the government, one thing I've noticed working with a lot of Czechs and Poles on construction jobs that my company does, I've met people who actually want to work for a living.
Right.
They're coming here because they have an opportunity to do that, and we're making it very, very easy for them, because a lot of our guys just do not want to get off the backsides because they're glued to Mr. Kyle, and that's it. Now, well, I'm probably not explaining all of that as eloquently as I...
No, I understand every word you say. It might be that... you see, one reason that has been put forward is that the government over the past 10 years has created what they call a client class. In other words, that they've really bought the favour of people who they basically paid to sit at home and watch TV all day. They're
guaranteed to get their vote next time round, aren't they?
Well, they ain't going to vote for David Cameron, no.
Yeah, I mean, my politics are obviously coming out a bit here now, but one of the things that surprises me about after 10 years of a Labour government is how, on many, many areas, they still look like a bunch of amateurs. And I'm not suggesting that Mr. Cameron's team are going to be any better. But
that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, when you go to vote, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think, well, none of the above.
It's a real worry, and I've never not voted for more than 20 years. I've always voted, and I'm struggling at the moment.
Yes, well, I've always voted, but I've never been completely comfortable with the vote that I've made, because I always feel that I'm only voting for whoever I voted for, not really as a positive thing, but as a negative thing in order to keep the people that I don't like out.
Yeah, I mean, and I think kind of summing up part of what I was saying at the beginning of this conversation, my the headmaster at school that my son goes to said something about there's a lot of people these days who are really, really able to point out, all about their rights. Yeah. And he says that's fine, but along with rights goes responsibilities. And I think there's a lot of people who don't understand responsibility.
Yeah, well, that part of the equation they sort of skipped over, yeah. They got stuck on the rights part, and the responsibility part, maybe that comes next, as an extra.
But I think, there has to be a correction somehow, and I don't quite know what or when or how it will hit, but I'm pretty sure it will. There will be a shock, whether it's economically that affects the country in such a major way as the sort of tiger economies become stronger and stronger all the time, or whether it's just that there becomes a sort of a backlash almost from hard-working people who do understand responsibility.
Right.
But
I'm surprised that something like that hasn't happened before. I mean, there's a lot of media constructs about people taking the law into their own hands. Like, there's a program on ITV, which I think is one of the best things on TV at the moment, called Dexter. And there's, every video game is people going out and taking out the bad guys, or, whatever it might be. So there's this obvious people have this need to take back control in an almost sort of vigilante-like way. But it hasn't actually happened in real life yet. And I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't.
I mean, I really hope it doesn't happen like that.
Well,
I just think that, if things continue the way they are,
something's got to give. Yeah, you're right. All right, thanks very much, Mike.
Pleasure. Thank
Cheers,
you.
mate. Ta-ra.
Yes.
This is LBC. It's 0845 6060 973. There was something about... let's just deal with this mods thing, and I'll go on to my confusion about... There seems to be some confusion about how you're going to vote in... Not who you're going to vote for, but how you're going to vote for in the mayoral election that's just about to come up. And I've read the explanation, and I don't... and I still don't understand it, so maybe you can help me out. Hang on. First, though, it's Pat. Hey, Pat.
Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good boy. Roger Rockers. Who needs educating in your department then?
Say that again.
Who needs educating in your department?
My teenage producer.
They must be freezing in their short trousers. Roger Rockers. Mods with the nice clothes. Now the shiny tonic mohair suits.
Yeah.
And
tonic is two-tone, by the way. Have you ever seen a tonic suit there, Rog?
No, but I've seen a tonic car.
A tonic car? Yeah, I've seen a tonic car as well, yeah.
Very similar. But it came in three colours: red, tonic, green tonic, and blue tonic.
Yeah.
That was the suit. Normally a three-piece suit, made to measure, very smart, a lot of money in the three-piece.
Yeah, that's right. They spent a lot of money on looking right.
Ben Sherman shirts, nice button-down shirts,
Yeah.
the right shoe, robes,
Yeah.
or what they call plains, like the American, they based themselves on the American look, with the shoes especially. Very smart, and the scooters they had for the mods, the Lambrettas, all the mirrors, all the best, it was mainly Lambrettas, with the chrome panels. They were the nuts. Now the Rockers, they were the guys who had the blue jeans, the boots, and the leather jackets.
Yeah, it was almost the complete opposite. Yeah.
Absolute, poles apart. And normally you was a rocker, then all of a sudden you decided, well, the clothes look a lot nicer and the women a bit more better looking.
Yeah.
So I'll be a mod tomorrow. So it's nice,
Right.
the nice haircut and away you went.
Yeah, that's right. And like a girl wouldn't want to take a rocker home to the parents, but she wouldn't. She'd feel comfortable taking a mod home.
Well, of course, did he wear the crombie as well, with handkerchief in the top pocket?
That's right.
Fold over.
I mean, there might have been, violent hoodlums, but they looked like such nice boys. Yeah.
No, we weren't hoodlums. No, we didn't like two brothers with knives, but we weren't hoodlums-ish.
Right, Pat, I'm going to have to leave you because it sounds like you're calling us from underwater. But thanks very much. Cheers, mate.
Man, bye-bye.
0845 6060 973. So is it becoming clearer now? If you're getting a picture in your head, it's like, think of The Who when they first started out. All, white clothes, Targets, Parkers. It's a bit like, well, no, I was going to say it's a bit like Oasis, but they just wore the Parkers without the smart part. You getting it yet?
Yeah, I think I am.
Right, okay. Now, mayoral voting is coming up soon. Everyone's very excited. The contest to become next mayor of London is likely to be The contest to become the next mayor of London is likely to be decided by a relatively untested system that is little understood by voters, experts have warned. I didn't even know that it existed. The complex voting system known as the supplementary vote was not an issue in the past two elections, as a clear victory was secured on both occasions. But with many judging the race too close to call, the second preference votes of those opting to give their first choice to Brian Paddock or a minor party candidate are likely to decide the outcome next month. Most polls put Mr Johnson slightly ahead of the incumbent mayor, but a local government expert said there is some evidence of a small lead for one candidate, but this is so small you have to call it a to-the-wire contest. So it's very exciting in that respect. Analysis of the London Communications Agency suggests that the victor will almost certainly be elected as a result of second preference votes. So in other words, the person who wins is going to win not because they were voted as their first choice, but because people voted them as a consolation prize. Under this form of proportional representation, voters can choose their first and second preference choices. In the count, the second preferences of all but the top 2 candidates are redistributed. This is where I start to lose it. The second preferences of all but the top 2 candidates. So if I voted for... So if the top 2 candidates are Boris and Ken, if I voted for Boris or Ken, my second preference wouldn't count. Is that right?
Yeah, basically what it means is you vote...
Oh, I forgot, you've got a degree in this.
I do indeed, and I did study a module of this, but it was a few years ago.
But you've never voted?
No. I might vote this time.
Right.
But no, basically, the top 2 who are clearest ahead in votes, I do believe this to be true, then if you voted for them as a second preference as well, because you can do first and second preference for them.
Right.
Have I lost you already?
Well, a little bit.
Oh, let me start again. If the top 2 candidates are clearly ahead...
Yes.
Then the second preferences of everyone else...
Of everyone else?
Of other than them, say Party A and Party B, or candidate A and B, are ahead.
Right.
So you've got C, D, E and F. So whoever's on their second choice...
On whose second choice?
On the voter's second choice. Whoever you voted for is your second choice.
Yeah.
Those votes then get added to everyone else.
You're rubbish at this.
I am. There is a clearer way of explaining it.
Is it that all of your primary votes, they get counted, and then all of the second votes get counted, and then they get added to them? No, that can't be it. Does your first choice get 2 points, and your second choice gets 1 point, and then they just add them all up at the end? That can't be it either. So, I'll just finish this, and then it might become clear at the end, but I doubt it. In the count, the second preferences of all but the top 2 candidates are redistributed until one gains more than 50%. In the count, the second preferences of all but the top 2 candidates. Nope. Effectively, that means it's pointless for voters to make anyone other than the leading candidates their second choice. It's also worthless for supporters of the Labour and Conservative candidates to make any kind of second preference, as their votes are unlikely to be distributed. Right, so if you vote for, as polls suggest, Labour and Conservative are in the lead, as the polls have suggested. So if you vote for Labour or Conservative, your second vote won't count. It will only count if you voted for somebody else. Right, well, that's not fair. Why shouldn't my second vote count if I vote for one of the leading candidates? How's that fair? I only get 1 vote and everybody else gets 2. Like, if I voted for the monster-raving loony Nazi party, then my second vote would count for more than somebody who votes for Ken or Boris. That's crazy. I demand a recount. We haven't even voted yet. 8:45. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thank you.
0845 6060 973. So is it that if you vote for one or other of the 2 that are likely, that you can't dance around this so much. One of the 2 that recent polls have suggested are more likely to win than not, then only the people that didn't vote for them get their second votes counted. If you voted for one of the 2 candidates that happen to be, after the votes are counted, 1 and 2, but without a clear majority, then your second votes don't get counted. Well, that's an outrage. Why not? Because if I vote for, say, the Conservatives, and put, say, Labour as my second choice, then why does my second choice not count as much as somebody who voted for the more cornflakes for breakfast party? You know, some loony who's in the box next to me making a mark with a green crayon. Why do they count more than me? They count twice. I'm outraged. What kind of... not even in Zimbabwe do they run an election like this. Here's a guy in Chigwell. Hello, Ben.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. I've turned on the radio listening to you trying to get your head around the voting system, and to be honest, I don't actually get to vote here in this particular election because
Why not?
I live in Bishop Stortford near Stansted, right. So it's slightly out of the catchment. But in my mind, sort of thought I had a relatively simple way that might explain it, so you can kind of get your head around how it works.
Lay it on me, baby.
Start at the very beginning. When you go into the polling booth, for sake of argument, you have two pieces of paper, a blue one and a green one.
Yeah.
Each has the same list of 10 candidates from which you can make your vote, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, now the blue one, sheet number 1, you pick the person who you would most like to become mayor.
Yes.
And on the green sheet, you pick, if you can't have your first choice, you put your second choice down, who you would like to have out of the remaining 9 people.
Right.
So obviously you can't make the same vote twice.
Yeah.
Now, when all the votes are added up, all the blue papers are added up first, okay, put into their boxes. Now, if there's a clear winner, so say someone has 40, 50%, whatever the threshold is, when all of the blue papers are added up, the person is the outright winner, end of the election.
Right.
We have a result.
Yeah,
now,
that makes sense.
Yeah, now, if there is no outright winner, so no one candidate has enough votes to get above that threshold for an outright win, okay, you separate the pile. So you have the 2 candidates who have the most number of blue paper votes, okay, and now the election is simply between those 2. Now you go and you discard the remaining blue paper votes and you go and dig out all of the green votes, okay? Now, everyone who has voted, all of the green votes are then added up, and those results are added to the results of the remaining 2 contestants.
No, but I don't think that's right, because the article was suggesting that if you voted for one of the 2 main contestants, your second vote doesn't count.
Well, that's right, for the simple reason, only green sheets that correspond to votes that were made the discarded blue papers are the ones that are used to rebalance the vote. So if on your first sheet you voted for Ken and he's one of the top 2, then it's considered that you already get your wish. Your man is most likely to become mayor. So whoever you voted for on your second vote isn't going to be one of them anyway.
Well,
so there's nothing to count from your second vote.
Well, that's
because you're saying you can't vote for the same person twice.
But that's okay. But all right. Well, say for want of an argument.
Yeah.
Everybody who voted for Ken put their second choice as Boris.
Yeah.
And everyone who voted for Boris put their second choice as Brian.
Yeah.
That would mean I've just lost myself.
Basically, the votes for as far as I'm aware, when the second votes are added up, it's only the votes for the first 2 candidates are counted up. If the votes are for other people, then they're not added to the list because they can't help one win anyway. Now, if your first vote was for Ken and your second vote was for Boris, if your second vote is if your green vote for Boris is counted in the overall, you may end up tipping the balance and shooting yourself in the foot by adding so much weight to Boris that you don't get your first choice. So those of you who have made your first choice and your candidate is in the top 2, your second votes aren't counted because it's considered you've already...
You'd be voting against yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, but suppose...
You've already basically got your wish because your candidate's moved up to the next stage.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to vote for the same guy. You can't vote for the same guy twice, and you're not going to vote for the direct opposition, usually. But if you do, you've shot yourself in the foot. So the system allows those people who want the Green or the Monster Raving Loony as their first choice, but...
They get to decide. The crazy people.
Exactly. I'm not saying it's a fair system, but it is a system.
Right, OK, well, thanks very much, Ben.
No problem, hope it helps.
Good effort. Not really, my brain hurts now. But this is insane. Why isn't it just, who do you want to be mayor? What's this second vote thing?
Because if it's too close to call...
Yeah.
Then you need some way of having a clear, defined winner to push over their threshold.
Well, that's rubbish. It will never be equal, would it?
Well, it's
virtually impossible that you get exactly the same number of votes.
No, but to be proportional, you have to reach a certain number of the votes.
It's a proportional...
So the winner...
It's not proportional representation. I thought it was just whoever gets the most votes.
Yeah, but you have to... If it's that close that the percentages of the threshold are the same. So if you both got 35% of the vote, you need someone who's going to be an outright winner who has 36% of the vote.
But it doesn't come down to percentages. Surely it comes down to the number of votes, right? I mean, the presidential, the president of the United States of America, he got in by the skin of his teeth, didn't he? It was a matter of 1,000 or so votes after they went to court in Florida, which, incidentally, is run. The governor of Florida is was at the time Jeb Bush, George's brother. What a coincidence!
Absolutely.
Oh, it's beginning to sound like that. I just think that just sounds daft, doesn't it? It sounds a bit suspicious.
There's no doubt it's a flawed system.
But it's the best one we've got until somebody else can think of something better. Right. Well, I wish to register a complaint. Here is Hackney. Hello, Martin.
Hello.
Martin.
Hello. Just like to say, as far as I'm aware, Pete Doherty doesn't wear a pork pie hat. He wears a trilby.
A trilby, yeah, you're
because
absolutely
me and my
right.
mates are unicyclists. We run a unicycle hockey club in Hackney, and we've worn hats while we're riding for years. My mate rides with a ringmaster's hat or a stovepipe top hat, and we both wore trilbies for a while, but we sacked them off when Pete Doherty came on the scene. and I actually wear a pork pie hat. They're not easy things to find. They tend not to be skinny-brimmed ones that you can find now. There's a lady called Jill Hayward makes skinny-brimmed ones, but Pete Doherty doesn't wear a pork pie hat.
Right.
Please tell me he doesn't, because if not, I'll have to get another bloody hat to turn into. You don't want to be looking like Mr. Doherty.
No, quite. And you're a member of the what?
I run a unicycle hockey club. It's an unusual sport, I'll give you that. But
a unicycle hockey club? I've never heard of such a thing. Is that a popular event?
It's a sort of cult sport, but yeah, there are two teams in London, the London Loonies and the Hackney Freewheelers, who are ours. So,
that seems like it would be about the most difficult thing I can think of. You're on a bike with one wheel, and hitting a hockey puck.
We use a tennis ball.
A tennis ball, right.
Yeah, we used to use low-bouncing hockey balls, but the Germans have delineated the fact that we use tennis balls, which makes it harder, if you ask me, but...
Yeah.
It's an incredibly good fun game.
Where do you play that?
At the moment, we play at the Hackney Free and Parochial School on Paragon Road on Wednesday nights from about 6:15 to 7:30, but we're about to lose that venue because they're going to dig it up to refurbish the school, so we're not sure where we're going to go to after that. We're still looking.
Is it on concrete you play it?
Yes, yeah, you want a smooth surface, then any lumps just ruin it, and it's a lot harder to stay on. But it sounds like a ridiculous game, and of course it is a bit ridiculous, but it's a much more coherent game than you'd think.
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound any more ridiculous than playing hockey on horseback.
It's true enough. I mean, there's also, there's bike polo played down the back of Brick Lane. We've had a little knock-up with them, but it's they're not quite up to our manoeuvrability, so
right.
It's not a fair comment.
When was the last time you broke a major bone?
In all the time that I've been playing for 15 years.
Still not done it?
The only thing I've done is I fell off when I was too drunk to stand up and was trying to rest a bit.
All right, thanks, Martin.
In tests against ordinary...
He knows everything.
Well, the nice man on the news talked about the weather, but I have better news than that. Summer could be on the way, but we can expect a heavy dose of April showers first, forecasters have said. Rain should peter out by the middle of next week to make way for sunshine and rising temperatures. Oh, finally. Until then, we should brace ourselves for a steady easterly wind, high pressure to the north of Scotland, low pressure above France. The result is near constant rain until it gets here. So it's almost like we have to go through hell to arrive at the other side, but it'll be worth getting there. The sunshine and the intermittent showers that we saw earlier in the week are on their way out. By tomorrow, things will have turned a lot cloudier. Outbreaks of rain push their way across southern England. This kind of weather will continue on Saturday with more rain across the country, with the heaviest showers hitting us right here. By the middle of next week, the rain will peter out, there will be a return of the sunshine, and temperatures will be rising. Can you believe it? Eltham, hello, Phil.
Hi, Nick. Hi.
Phil.
Good to talk to you again. Yeah, I was listening to you last night. Sorry, before I say my main piece, if I may.
Yeah.
You're talking about vitamin pills.
Right.
I was disappointed that you didn't. You know, normally you go on. I'm on about 100 vitamin pills a day, man, and you didn't do it. I was gutted.
No, I don't take them anymore. And what I do now instead, this probably isn't doing me any good either, is I take a spoonful of the most revolting stuff known to man. It's omega oil, 3, 6, and 9.
Mm.
I have no idea what that does.
My favourite type of omega.
Yeah, that's right. I've got no idea what it does, but I'm going to take it anyway, until I read a report, in 10 years that said, well, the reason why you're dying, the reason why you're on oxygen and your limbs don't work, is because you've been taking omega oil.
Yeah, poisoning your body.
Yeah.
But, anyway, I've basically recently had my drink spiked.
Have you?
Yeah, as of last night, so to speak, for the first time in my life. I was in a hotel bar, because I've been away doing some exams. And basically I was sitting at a bar, having a few, not being funny, I had about 4 or 5 Stellas,
Without mentioning any brand names, Stella, you say, yes. Reassuringly inexpensive, yeah.
Exactly. And, but basically, I can handle my beer. I know where to stop. I know what the score is, all the rest of it.
Right. How many have you had?
4 or 5.
Okay.
Fine.
4 or 5?
Yeah. That's not too bad, surely.
Well, I don't think over what period of time?
Oh, 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
And
you felt a bit funny after that. Gosh, yeah, you must have had your drink spiked. What are you talking about?
No, normally I can have 4 or 5 and I feel sort of a little bit tipsy, but...
Yeah. But nothing that would stop you driving, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll drink 8 before I drive, obviously.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm joking.
Get you loosened up.
Exactly.
Go on.
But anyway, normally I know when I'm feeling a bit mashed, I can sense the cloudiness of drunk on me.
Yes.
But
lager is lager and wine to a certain extent is quite easy to control your intake. You can sort of, I like to balance. I don't drink that much, but I like to sort of balance on the edge of, because I don't like getting out of control, because then the fun stops. For me, I'm not like a happy drunk. I'm happier when I'm sober, which tells you a lot about me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But spirits, they're quite hard. And I've often thought that somebody has put spirits in my drink, because you don't know you're drunk on spirits until you stand up. You're sitting down, you think, oh gosh, nothing's actually happening.
Yeah.
And you drink and you drink and you drink. It's only when you stand up that you realise how smashed you are.
Yeah, but the thing that happened last night, I was sitting there and I was thinking about, a bit knackered, about to go to bed. Suddenly, I felt really lightheaded. And it's as though I've never really... Well, when you're a kid, you sniff a marker pen, sniff some sort of solvent.
No.
All right, so sort of Tipex or something.
Yeah.
Not mentioning any brand name.
Right, I love the smell of Tipex in the morning.
But God, I sound... God, if my parents heard me now, they'd be ashamed, but...
Well, I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. But imagine...
Now they know why all their marker pens are dry.
But,
So, were you drinking with people?
Well, this is it, because I'm on my own,
right.
You see. Part of the problem, I think.
Well, how could somebody have spiked your drink if you were drinking on your own?
Well, nipped to John, and you don't know what's going on,
right,
do you?
okay.
So I don't really... I don't, unlike the UK government, I don't have a CCTV camera focused on my pint.
Well, that's where you went wrong.
But anyway, the thing is, Nick, all of a sudden, I felt really, really high.
Yeah.
Really high. Not to the point of collapsing, but to the point of feeling that any minute now, I'm just not going to be in control of myself. You know what I mean?
And it's obviously not because of the drink, because you've drunk 5 pints before.
Yeah, I know.
You know what that's like, yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what 5 lagers do.
What, was it a room spin, or what?
Just so, when you go on a roller coaster,
yeah,
and you go over a peak, and your head feels really light?
Yes.
That's exactly how I felt.
Right.
you know, and that was the only symptom. And I thought, my God, someone round here, you know, maybe because I'd like £100 on me in cash.
Yeah.
Not a huge amount, but I thought, you know, and I thought, I've got to get out of here. And went back to my room and, you know, locked the door.
So were you walking funny? I mean, you were staggering about the place?
No, that's the thing. I was walking perfectly fine. No other symptoms. I know it sounds a bit over the top, but I phoned NHS Direct because I was really worried about what... Right. You know, it was such a high.
Yeah.
Seriously, Nick, I've never felt it in my life.
Wow, what good value for money.
I'll have to hang around in bars again, you know?
Yeah, quite, yeah.
But that's all it is, Nick, but obviously you know, for me it didn't really matter, but obviously there's a serious point where obviously you have vulnerable people who can get exploited with spiking, and God knows what goes on. I mean...
So you didn't wake up in the morning and your trousers were on inside out? Nothing like that?
Nothing like that, thank God. But, and the other thing, Nick, was I was drinking my beer and I was thinking straight away I felt a hit. And I thought, I better, you know, as I said, I know the symptoms of the beer normally.
Yeah.
And this was out of the world, out of the world. So thank God I stopped drinking after half a pint. But it just goes to show, you know, it's like... And
did you wake up in the morning with a real hangover?
No, I felt fine.
Well, it sounds fantastic.
Well, the only slight side effect was at lunchtime the next day, I started to feel really lightheaded again.
Yeah. A flashback? One of those Vietnam flashbacks?
Well, I was never in Nam, you know, I was too young for that, but thank God it only lasted for 2 hours. But again, I had the symptoms of lightheadedness, like, you know, when a lift, a bit like when a lift comes to a stop when it's going up.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's got to the point where really, if you're on your own, or you're drinking with people that you don't know, you should take the drink to the toilet. I mean, in clubs, I used to do that, because you put your drink down in the club and someone will nick it, won't they? Some bloke who can't be bothered to pay £5 for a can of lager will just take it.
Yeah.
So you used to cradle it close to you. But,
you know, obviously there was someone out there who was up to something.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is. I mean, I was looking on the pewter today, and there's like, I think it's called GHB or a Hypno or ketamine.
Right. I'm sure there's no end to them. Horse tranquilizers or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. Sort of mind-altering drugs that, you know, and hopefully there's no long-term symptoms, but I imagine it's just quite short-term. But
right. Well, you're making no sense on this show, Phil, if that's any help.
As usual, Nick.
All right, well, thanks for the warning.
Yeah,
cheers. Ta-ra. 0845 6060 973. No, nothing like that's ever happened to me. Not really. I mean, occasionally I have felt that maybe I just haven't regulated my intake enough and have blamed it on somebody else putting a vodka in my pint. But why would somebody buy a vodka for me and give it to me and not tell me? You'd think that they'd want credit. Anything like that happen to you, Raj?
Yeah, I do, but it's quite a long story, so we can come back and tell it if you like.
Oh, no, that's all right. It's 9:14. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thank you very much, Nick, in Edmonton tonight.
That's such very stirring music, isn't it? That's Pirates of Penzance. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest 2, something like that. Brilliant. Pirates of the Caribbean 1 was absolute rubbish. I couldn't stand it. In fact, it was so bad I saw it twice, just to make sure, because everybody's going, oh, what a great movie. And I thought it stank the place out. In fact, it stank almost as much as the stale popcorn from the vendor in the foyer, which, by the way, I've said it before, it's true, smells like old feet. It does. Stale popcorn smells like feet. That's why every time you go to the cinema, you come out smelling like feet. But number 2 is great. In fact, I think I'm going to go home and watch it again.
I've seen none of the Pirates franchise.
Right. Doesn't surprise me. You still haven't got... You still got all of the 1960s to catch up with. It'll be a long time before you get to where we are now. We have a Proline LCD DVD TV. to put up for auction. It's a reverse auction. The person with the lowest unique bid wins. This isn't one of those things that will take over your living room, unless you live in one of those executive flatlets and your living room looks like a corridor. It's something to stick in the kitchen, the bedroom, something like that. 19-inch LCD TV, HD ready. It's got a built-in DVD player and Freeview, all squeezed into one attractive package. If you would like to bid, then text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was a bid of, 38 pence, it would be LBC 38 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines closed 7pm Friday 18th of April. Bidders must be over 16. lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. Good luck. Wolverhampton. Hello, Andy.
Hello, Nick.
Andy.
Nice one. I should put in a request if you don't mind.
Go on.
Instead of Raj doing his list at the end of the show tonight, can he try and explain the voting system again?
In 60 seconds?
Yeah, because I was dying listening to him. He obviously knows what it is, but putting it into words, he reminds me of me when I'm trying to explain the offside rule to my mum. Kind of I know what it is, but when you try and actually put it in, you know, in easily comprehensible words...
The party of the first part. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyhow, no, I'm not even going to try. What I was going to say, given that... only one of two are going to win the vote. I like it when you call it mayoral as well.
What's it supposed to be?
I don't know, but it's just a cool word. We don't hear it any other time.
Mayoral. No, that's right. Yeah.
Are we or am I to assume that then the big two are kind of behind the scenes trying to do deals with the minor candidates to say, well, get your lot to, because obviously they're the only two who are going to win. So they say, would they be saying to number 3, Paddock, whatever his name is? Well, can you say on the quiet to your supporters that if you're not going to win, that you'd rather that I win?
Well, of course, there have been major upsets in votes, down the decades, and anything could happen come May the 1st. So let's not count our chickens before they've hatched. But I think Brian Paddock refused to comment on that, didn't he? Really? He was specifically asked about that.
Okay.
And he was not forthcoming. But I just think it's outrageous that the person could win on the basis of the people who are voting for the outside chance candidates. Let's put it like that.
That is how it's going to be decided.
Well, I'm outraged.
If it's as close as everyone says, that will be how it will be decided, won't it? Obviously.
Well, I don't like that system, Andy.
No, it is. It's terrible. But do you have to get to 50% by hook or by crook to win?
I've no idea, Raj. What's the answer? What am I asking you?
It's 51 from Abby.
It's 51%?
Yeah. So they won't get there, unlikely to get their first time round, so that it will be decided by...
On second votes?
Yeah.
Huh.
I suppose the only way to... If you don't do it on the day, then you'd have to call everybody back in again for a second vote off, wouldn't you? To have to it, like they do with the, say, like the Tory leadership. I remember when Mrs Thatcher went, they had the one round of votes and they got it down to 2 people and they all had to do it all again.
Yes.
Obviously it's not feasible to do that with the populace.
With all of us, yeah. No. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to get us out to vote once, never mind about twice, yeah. All right, thanks very much, Andy.
Nice one, all the best.
Cheers.
Cheers.
0845 6060 973. So how do you know about that then, Abigail?
I did politics too.
Oh, blimey. 2 of you?
Yep.
Right.
I know more than Raj does, though, obviously.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. So they have to get to 51%, otherwise they don't get the job. And if they don't get to 51%, then everyone who didn't vote for the 2 people that are come out top, then only their second votes get counted. Right. So if I vote for the I want to eat cake with my feet party, my second vote is counted more than someone who votes for a perfectly reasonable and sensible party. I'm outraged. Aren't you? Shocked, in fact. So, I'm still having trouble getting my head around this.
I would say it counts more.
Well, it does. It counts.
They count if you vote for the main parties, for example, then your first vote has been counted. And that's your vote. But the second, those who chose a lesser party or a less likely to win party...
Yeah.
their second vote counts because the parties that
because
they voted for first
they didn't get it right first time.
No.
Well, that's outrageous. I'm still not happy with that. I mean, I know it's been explained to me, and I suppose there is some some logic in it, but everybody's first vote gets counted. Only the people that got it wrong get their second vote counted as well.
Well, it's not a matter of getting it right or wrong.
Oh, no, it absolutely is, yeah. No, of course not. I was being flippant. But if everybody's first vote gets counted, no matter who you vote for, right? Only if you vote for the person that isn't one of the first two candidates, do you also get a second vote? Well, I want my second vote counted.
Yes, but what's the point in counting the second vote if it's not going to influence the outcome?
But it might. If everyone's second vote is, let's say, because you have to dance around this so much.
Okay,
let's say,
hang on a minute. Vote,
let's say that there's the Brown Party and the Purple Party. They're the ones that are going to win. No, that makes it even more complicated. Oh, my brain hurts.
Say candidate A and candidate B are the two forefront. They're right in the lead.
Right, but suppose everybody who voted for candidate A, just to do an extreme example, suppose everybody who voted for candidate A put candidate B as their second choice, and nobody that voted for candidate B put candidate A as their second choice. That would suggest that candidate B should get it, based on the second choice of the majority of people.
Well,
by
no,
definition.
Because you see, you do one round of voting, so you count the first votes. So if at the end of the first votes they're still equal, then they go to second votes. If after the first votes, candidate, say the brown part, what are we going with? Brown and purple? Or
No, I don't like brown.
Right, we'll call them candidate A and B.
A and B, yeah.
Right, so first choice is candidate A.
Yes.
So then, at the end of the first collection of votes, if candidate A beats candidate B, then there's no second choice.
Right.
You don't go to a second choice.
Correctamundo. If they get more than 51%, yes. But if they don't, then you discard the second choice of everybody who voted for A and B, and only go with the second choice of everybody who voted for somebody else. Well, I think that's outrageous. Because, as I say, imagine if everyone who voted for A chose B as their second choice, and it's a tie between A and B, and everyone who voted for B chose somebody else entirely as their second choice, then logic would dictate that it should go to B. But you're not counting any of those people, the majority. You're only counting the nutcases who voted for satellite parties who, I want to, well, you make it up, I want a wee standing on my head party. Those people who are, they get their vote counted twice, whereas the people who've made the more sensible choice, they only get their vote counted once. Oh, I wish to register a complaint. What kind of a crooked, phony election is this? And not a hanging Chad in sight. Can you believe it? I think that I'm just stunned. Aren't you?
Well...
Are you going to vote? You're not, are you? That is awful.
No, I will vote.
You're lying. You're going to vote for the first time in your life now. What, because you're so excited by the choices available? You are lying. You liar. Here is, Ickenham. David.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Now listen, you're making a big deal out of this election voting system, and I just wanted to show you that it is actually the most fair and simple system that they could have thought of. It's actually ingenious.
Go on.
Because what it is you're actually having two rounds of voting in one election. So what you're having is your multiple candidates, where everybody gets a vote for one candidate.
Yeah.
You're then in that one session identifying who are the two most popular candidates.
Right.
What you're then doing is having your second election, when rather bringing everybody back.
But it's not everybody,
No.
David.
It is everybody. You get one go. You go out to vote, and you have the first round. And if you're lucky enough to vote for somebody who does turn out to be one of the eventual two contenders, then your second vote is null and void because it's used for one of those two contenders. But if you'd voted for any of the others, then you need a second vote because at this point you're now taking part in an election in which there are only two candidates. And therefore, because your first vote was for either of them, you now get another go.
No, yeah, but you don't. If you voted for one of the top two candidates, you don't get another go.
No, you shouldn't. You don't.
Well, that's rubbish. Of course you should. Yes, you should. As I previously explained, you should, because if everybody's second candidate was candidate B, and nobody voted for candidate A as their second choice, then B should win it.
Listen, what you need to do is you need to imagine otherwise that you just take the votes on two separate days, okay? So everybody gets the vote on day one, which is their first vote, right?
Right, yes.
Now, some people vote for A and some people vote for B and say they're the first two. Now, the people who voted for C to D, C, D, E, and onwards, what happens now is you imagine you come back for a second round of voting, okay? But now the only people in the race are A and B.
Right.
And therefore, the people who already voted for A and B...
They don't get to vote again.
No, they do. Effectively, they're voting for them a second time, because now this is the second round election.
No, they're not voting a second time. They're not voting at all. I'm outraged. No, you can explain it until you're blue in the face, David. I just think it's... can't believe it.
No, listen, right.
I'm afraid I'm running out of time. And
you need to understand this.
I'd like to understand it, but unfortunately, well, like I say, I'm running out of time. But thanks for making an effort, David. 97.3, LBC, it's 9:30.
Extremely well.
You bet your life it is. I mentioned this just the other day. Guess what they don't sell in the village where they recorded that Guinness advert? You know, it starts off with dominoes and then they fall, books start falling over, and then it's, I think, dustbins or something like that, and then eventually cars, and then the big Guinness pint glass appears as books flip their pages over. Guess what they don't sell there? That's right. Villagers depicted in an advertisement for Guinness, whooping with joy as a pint appears in their remote Andean home, have never heard of the brand, do not like it, and would prefer a glass of lager. Inhabitants of Iruya, a settlement high in the mountains of northwestern Argentina, were nonplussed when they were invited to take part in the £10 million. You're kidding. It's not even very good, is it? I mean, Guinness have a history of putting on really great ads. Since they did the drumming thing with the horses coming out of the waves, which was fantastic, they've had to sort of top themselves with each effort. But I don't think this new one is very good at all. I mean, I just sort of switch it off. 10 million quid it cost. The most expensive ad in its history. Some 1,000 locals were shown cheering as a domino run, incorporating tumbling cars and furniture, goes through their village. But few of them were even aware of Guinness, and it's not served in any local bars or restaurants. A receptionist at the inn, where some of the crew stayed, said, "People here prefer lager. There's a local stout, but we only drink that after the blonde beers are finished." Sort of like when you go to a party, and you take a 6-pan of lager with you, 6-pack, and you drink that. And then you search around for somebody else's lager, and, you know, sometimes you find some around the back of the door where they've hidden it. And then sort of come like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're scrabbling around, and there's nothing left but martini. Am I right? The only foreign imports that they have there, he says, are Heineken and Budweiser. Guinness is not on sale anywhere, and I must say, I've never even heard of it before. The crew handed round 1 or 2 cans to villagers before they left, but mine are still in the fridge. I tried some, but I didn't really like it. So I think I'll stay, I think they'll stay where they are as a keepsake. The advertisement, because when they showed it, I thought, oh, well, they're just, you know, it's just all trickery. They haven't actually constructed this domino thing to work in real life. But apparently, It took 3 domino experts 2 days to set up and incorporated 6,000 dominoes, 10,000 books, 400 tyres, 75 mirrors, 50 fridges, 45 wardrobes and 6 cars. They shouldn't have bothered. One pair of British tourists said they travelled thousands of miles to the village after being inspired by the advert, only to find that there was no Guinness on offer. Jackie Green, 48, an office worker from Liverpool, said that she and her husband Phil wanted to brag about having a pint in the village. We were struggling to figure out where to take our next holiday when we saw the ad. Then we thought it would make the perfect pilgrimage. We were very disappointed. What, Spain full, was it? What do you want to go there for? Anyway, that had a vague connection with what we were talking about earlier with pints being spiked. And just so I can throw it away, I'll read this out as well. You know, I was mentioning this new method of removing appendices. Not appendices, appendixes. Appendices are something completely different. Removing an appendice, that's relatively painless. Just need like a Tipex. But no, they take a diseased appendix or whatever other organ has gone wrong, and instead of going through your stomach, instead of keyhole surgery, they take it out through your mouth. Did you hear about that?
They showed it on the news the other day.
They actually, when I was eating breakfast, what's his name? The round person who does Sky News. What's his name?
Eamon Holmes.
Eamon Holmes, yeah, that's right. Eamon Holmes said, they got this new thing where they rip your guts out through your mouth. And he said, well, this is why I'm, enjoying my morning porridge. And he said, well, you might not want to watch this if you're squeamish. Some bloke having his appendix ripped out through his mouth at breakfast. So I turned it off. But the Sun are a little bit late with this story. And I almost think that it's because they were trying to figure out the headline. I think they have a department for great headlines in the Sun because they're always funnier than anybody else's. So it used to be keyhole surgery to take this stuff out, but now because it comes out through your mouth... Guess what they've called it? That's right, cake hole surgery. Here is South Croydon. Hello, Roy.
Good evening, mate.
Roy.
Do you know, I forgot what I was going to talk about now, listen to you. But, the Teddy Boys.
Yes.
How do I sound, by the way? I've got one of them cheap old Nokias that your mate was on about.
I can hear every word you're saying.
Oh, cushy. Yeah, they was the daddies of them all, weren't they? The Teddy Boys was the original 50s lot, rocking around the clock.
Bill Haley, he was middle-aged his entire life, right?
He's an old man, wasn't he? But getting back to that drink business, which you've just been on about,
yeah.
if you go by government guidelines, a litre of whiskey should last you how long, do you know?
A litre?
Yeah, if you go by the government... Pardon?
2 months.
2 months?
Did I get that one wrong?
10 days.
10 days, yeah, like I said. 10 days, 2 months.
2 months, you said it?
Yeah, it's about right, 10 days.
10 days, 2 months. You're telling me... I was on listening last night, I was on about telling the biggest fibber. This woman phoned in, she said this gentleman who lives next door said he could swim 3 metres underwater. She said, I don't believe that. But...
Not 3 metres, 3 lengths.
3 lengths, that was it, yeah. It's like the fella said I swam up Niagara Falls.
I don't think there's anything like it.
And the other bloke said, I saw you. So who was the biggest liar?
Right. All right, thanks very much, Roy.
Good night, mate.
0845 6060 973. So have we got to the bottom of this voting thing? And do we actually want to dig any further? Not really, no. Here is Thurrock. Greg.
Nick.
Dig away.
Oh, no, if you're not interested...
No, I am interested. I'm just a bit outraged, really, that only the people who vote wrongly get their second... Only they get to vote twice. I want to vote twice.
Well, all you've got to... Right, you've got that far. You've understood the way that the mechanics of it work.
Yeah.
Up until the point that you say, raised a finger and said, but the people who voted for A and B as their first choice don't get to vote again.
Correct.
Well, let them vote again. In your own mind, imagine that they do get another vote.
Right.
And they all vote for the same candidate all over again.
Well, they won't.
Won't make any difference.
Yeah, but they won't vote for the same candidate. They'll vote for somebody else.
Well, then they still won't. Basically, it still won't make any difference to the winner, then, will it?
Well, yeah, it will, because if everyone's second vote is for B, then B should get it.
No, because their first vote is already included in the total.
I think what we're assuming here is that people can see clear water between A and B. Suppose they just think, well, what's the difference? I'll just vote for both of them, and I'll put A as 1 and B as 2, just arbitrarily.
Right.
So only the people... So I think that their second choice should be counted as well.
But they're getting 2... In that case, they will get 2 votes, but the people who didn't vote for A and B only get 1 vote.
No, they'll get 2 votes.
No, they won't.
Yeah, well, yes, they will, because their first choice will be counted.
Well, then you're back to square one again.
No, you're not.
Because you've only got two candidates in the second draw.
But that doesn't matter. If everybody gets a second vote, then everybody should get their second vote counted.
Right. And then where are you? You still won't get to two lead-offs. You'll still get 3, 4 or 5 candidates vying.
No, you won't. No, you won't.
Because you're assuming it's highly unlikely that people who vote for Ken will prefer
will also
Boris.
vote for Boris or whoever, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
But that's a silly thing to say, highly unlikely. It might be very likely.
Right.
People might think that, well, let's just stick with A and B, shall we? Because otherwise people start complaining.
Okay.
People might want A and B, or they might think they're all dopes, so what's the difference? And they just think, oh, well, I'll just put A, but then I kind of like B as well, or I think he's just as bad, so I'll vote for B as well. I think that everybody's... either everyone's second vote should count, or no one's second vote should count. How can only some people get 2 votes? I'm outraged.
Because if no one's second vote counts,
yeah,
you don't get past this 51%.
Right, so then everyone's second vote should count. Can't get around it.
Well then, because then you could then just the same way that you're saying, well, if A's all voted for B second and B's all voted for A second, if you counted the A's and B's votes all over again, second votes all over again,
yeah,
it won't. They will refer to people who haven't come in the top 2.
Is this you explaining it to me?
Yeah. Everyone gets their first vote.
Yes.
Right, like the guy was trying to explain before.
Yeah, everyone gets their first vote. I'm with you there.
And out of there...
Only some people get their second vote.
Right, no, and out of there they say, right, only A and B have come through as the top 2.
Yes.
Right, so we're going to vote again. Right?
But not everybody gets to vote again.
But, yeah, you do, and you say...
No, you don't.
Yeah, the first people, the ones that voted for A and B, get to vote all over again.
But they don't.
No, hold on. The people that vote for A and B get to vote all over again, right? And the people that voted for C, D, E and F are told you can only vote now for A or B.
Right.
What's it going to be? And at least that way, everyone who voted will have either 100% or a 50% contribution to it.
Yeah, exactly. 100% or 50%. Everyone should get 100%.
The 100% ones are the ones that voted for them as number 1.
I still don't like it, Greg.
Well, you don't like it, but that's what you're going to get.
Okay.
All right?
And I'm not going to leave the table till I've eaten my dinner.
Exactly.
Oh, Mum!
Just pull your socks up and behave yourself.
Thanks, Greg. He's put it into perspective now. I'm a very naughty boy. It's 9:44. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
And public transport to start with tonight. There are delays.
When did Ian Wright get so funny? Oh, that's right. Never. Wrighty has quit as a BBC pundit. Ian Wright has quit as a football pundit for the BBC. Oh, to much relief all round. I couldn't stand him. I mean, Alan Hansen, it's all about the defence, and he's all right because he always says sensible things. Alan Shearer is, Struth. Is he interesting?
Boring.
Really dull. But at least he knows what he's talking about. Well, I suppose Ian Wright essentially doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a stranger to the English language, though. Ian Wright, he's just the worst football pundit or the most annoying, because he thinks he's a comedian. Somebody has told him he's funny. He says he's quit BBC punditry, claiming that he was forced to become a comedy jester. Have you ever laughed at anything that Ian Wright has ever said? You watch football, eh, Wright?
Yeah, I like to watch.
Right. Ian Wright, discuss.
I think he has said he's got some occasional one-liners which might be funny.
He's just so irritating, am I right?
Well, I actually like him because...
Why?
Because at least... Because he only ever commentates on England matches, and at least he shows some passion and he says what he thinks, and he's not just all boring and they need to play a 4-4-2 or they need to do this. And, you know, he says, what's wrong with them? They're acting like idiots. Do this, do that, get it done. I think he's actually quite refreshing.
Oh, can't stand him. He says, the former England, it says rather, the former England and Arsenal striker attacked the corporation for stuffy match coverage and said it was out of touch with fans. I don't know how long young people are going to want to sit down and watch the same old jacket, shirt and tie format, he told the Broadcast magazine. Well, right now, if that does... They should put them under, like, behind a table or something, like a table that comes up to sort of their chest, so that we don't have to look at their dreadful suits. And, yeah, it's the clothes thing, yes. But, really, that's only at half-time, and everybody's, you know, you go to the toilet, you go to the fridge, you know, you're not watching them, really, are you? Who cares? It's the actual match itself, and I think they do a really good job. Fans want people who are dressed like them, he says. What rubbish. They've got no one to relate to on TV, and that's why I've said to them I don't want to do the England games anymore. Great. He's estimated to have earned 50 grand from the BBC pundit role. Is that all? He'll present the return of Gladiators on Sky One. Oh, yeah, he really wants to be taken seriously. He said of his work... and by the way, Gladiators... How is that a news item? I know that we covered it in our news a little while ago, but as I was hearing it, I thought, oh, come on. The Gladiators, that's the silliest show in the world, and that they're bringing it back. That should be, what?
I'm going to disagree with you.
He said of his work as a football pundit, I feel like I'm just there as a comedy jester to break the ice with Alan Shearer and Alan Hansen, who just do run-of-the-mill things. Trust me, Ian, you're not a comedy jester. The definition of comedy jester is someone who's funny. Here are some of the things that he said. On the problems at Leeds, the club has literally exploded. See what I mean? It's like a stranger to the English language. It hasn't literally exploded. On a comedy sketch involving Ricky Gervais and a midget, he said, I don't know what it is about little people like that, I just love them. On Tony Adams' alcoholism, it took a lot of bottle for Tony to own up. On his former manager, Arsene Wenger gives us unbelievable belief. And on his favourite film, I'm an emotional person and I enjoy crying. You know the film Beaches with Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey? Sometimes when I want a good cry, I put it on. Bye-bye, righty. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Croydon. Hello, Dave. What a shocking reception we're getting on that phone. Well, have to go with someone else. 0845 6060 973. There's some quotes in the Express. Every now and again they give over a page of amusing quotes. And I'll read some of those out, because they're funnier than anything I could think of. Here's one from Ken Dodd. I don't get it. I told the Inland Revenue I didn't owe them a penny because I lived near the sea.
Doesn't live inland if he lives near the sea.
Oh, I told the Inland Revenue I didn't owe them a penny because I lived near the sea. There you are, you see. It's the way he tells them. Hi, Wickham. Hello, Chris.
Hi there.
That comes to something when I don't understand a Ken Dodd joke.
Well, I'll try and help you out with a Ken Livingstone joke instead then, shall I?
No, not allowed.
No, not any kids. Just this voting system for you.
Oh, okay.
I thought I'd give it another shot, shall we?
Please.
Okie dokie. The easiest thing to do. Let's just pretend it was Nick Ferrari, Clive Bull, and James O'Brien were the three main.
Right.
Candidates.
Excellent.
That makes it nice and easy, doesn't it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So let's suppose. I mean, the easiest thing if Nick and James were going to be the top two candidates, and they were the ones who were the most likely to go through.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do would be to say, let's forget all the other candidates. We'll have one vote, and we'll just have those two names on the ballot paper.
Right.
And we'll forget everyone else.
Yes, I'm with you so far.
That would be nice and easy, and you'd end up with something like 60% go for one of them, 40% go for the other, and there's no debate about as to who London wants as the mayor.
Right. So far, so clear.
Okay. The problem is that the others, so Clive Bull, he wants to get in there, he wants to have his stay, he wants to be doing his grandstanding, and all the other minor people also want to have their grandstanding. They want to put their policies across.
Right.
So what they're all saying is, well, we have a right to be on the ballot paper, so they get to be in the vote. So what you want to do is say, okay, well, we'll allow them to be in the first vote, but then the serious vote is really going to be between Nick and James. That's the only people who are really, got a realistic chance of winning.
Right. So
what you do, rather than, I think it's, as David said earlier on a previous call, rather than saying, we'll have the first vote and then everyone has to come back and a month later and do a second round of voting like you do in some other countries, the way we're going to do it is this. Everybody says, this is who I want if as my first candidate, but if he doesn't get in, if it was just the choice between between the top two, who would I want it to be?
Is this you explaining it to me? Because I'm more confused than when you started.
Okay, so what we're saying is you can vote for any of the three of them, but if it was just between if it was just between
Nick and James, which would you like? Yes, but only the people that voted for somebody else get to choose.
No, because what you do in the second round of voting, what you say is if everyone had come back for a second round, if everyone come back and re-voted, then.
Yeah. Then you assume that the people that voted for Nick or James would vote the same way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But I still think that's a bad way of doing it. Let me explain how I see it. Okay. If everybody who voted for Nick and James don't get their second choice counted, what could, in theory, happen is, suppose everybody that voted for Nick, their second choice was for James.
Yeah.
Suppose nobody's second choice is for Nick. So that everyone who voted for Nick and James, all of their second choice would be for James. Now, their votes are discounted. But suppose everybody that voted for me, for instance, they voted for Nick. So then, by that method, Nick would get in. But if everyone's second choice was counted, James would win.
But everybody has... I think the problem you've got is that everybody effectively gets one vote.
Yeah.
Now that vote is
and some people get two.
No.
Well, they do.
No. Everybody gets one vote in the final running. Their one vote is either for who they voted for in the first round, who they voted for first, or if that person has been eliminated,
or who they voted for second.
Who they voted for in the second.
Right. Okay, I still think it stinks.
Two votes if they vote for one of the minor people.
Right.
They just get one vote. Everybody gets one vote.
I think I'm going to boycott it.
It sounds like it might be a good idea, but I think the easiest thing would be, if we just had, two people on the ballot paper, and we just accepted the fact that it's going to be one or two people, then that would make it a lot easier in the first place.
Right.
But I don't think we're allowed to do that.
No, not really. But thanks very much, Chris.
No worries.
Cheers, mate. Ta-ra. Okay. These are some of the things that have been compiled in a book of quotes. Oh, is it that time already? Oh, I'll do that tomorrow then. Isn't that exciting?
No.
What have we talked about today then, Raj?
We spoke about fame. Individuality.
Fame.
Bloggers.
Yeah.
Apparently they're not having time or something.
They're dying.
Oh, even more serious then.
Were you listening to this show?
Yeah, of course.
Carry on.
Crime statistics, which apparently don't mean anything to you.
No.
Vigilante justice.
Oh, yeah.
Local policies. Mobile phone theft, recording crime inaccurately, government targets, IMEI numbers.
Stands for?
Oh, I don't know. Information overload?
No. Nice try.
Fines for passengers.
Yes.
Cameron versus the Sneeze.
Oh, out of time again. LBC. Clive's next.